getting set up, going live. Okay. Welcome, lovely lunar ladies. So excited to be back. It's about time, isn't it? I am Shannon, and welcome to the Lunar Ladies Lifestyle Group. If you are new or haven't been here in a while, you need a little refresher. I'm the owner and operator of Lunar Ladies, and I'm so excited to be here today with my soul brother, good friend, Cedar Green. Welcome, Cedar Green.
Hi.
So happy to have you here, and thank you so much for being here. So Cedar and I have been chatting offline, and of course we chat quite often because we're always talking about the stars, astrology, you name it, historical timelines, deep digging. He's my Indiana Jones when it comes to the archaeological understanding of how did the cosmos affect us then and now. So we're going to talk about the eclipse season or the eclipses of this year because it is huge for those of us living in the United States. Why? Because it's going across the United States and people are, making reservations. They're going to be driving to be along the pathway so that they can experience the totality of the solar eclipse because it's a big event, it's a big deal. And I don't know if you know, but Cedar Green was in the one in 2017. So we're going to talk about all things eclipse, what it means, what we're seeing as archaeological astrologers, digging up clues, facts from the past to apply it to today so we can be adequately prepared and help guide all of us to an enlightened and a wonderful experience rather than, shaking your head and going, what the heck just happened? Okay, so I'm going to keep my eye on comments while we chat, Cedar, but go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more. And of course, if you want to share a little bit from your eclipse experiences from 2017 before we get started, that'd be awesome.
Sure thing. My name is Cedar Green. I'm the founder of Crystal Focus Alchemy. I live in Mount Shasta, California. And the first time I visited Mount Shasta was when I was on my way to the eclipse in 2017. I was on my way up to Oregon to a little town called Madras, which is out in the eastern part of the state, which had good viewing for the eclipse. And when I stopped here in Mount Shasta, I thought, oh, this is a kind of place I could really live. And at the time, I had an office job in the Bay Area of California, down in Cupertino. And so I didn't see a way to make that possible, but it sort of landed in my heart that day. Well, little did I know that 4 years later, I would be signing a mortgage and moving to my house in Mount Shasta.
Oh, wow.
And in between those 2 points was just a minor global reorganization called COVID that changed the entire global work landscape. And I decided to act on what was in my heart and make the move. And when I was looking for the house, my office job was telling me to come back to the Bay Area, and I was stubbornly refusing to do so, and signed a mortgage on my house. And as soon as I signed the mortgage, then I got an offer for a permanent work from home position.
Wow.
And so I started the new job the same week when I moved into the house. And so
Oh my
that was my
gosh.
eclipse experience. And I walked into the eclipse just out of curiosity and wanting to see the spectacle of creation happening before my very eyes. And it did not disappoint.
I can only imagine you were up in Oregon at the time.
Yeah, it did not disappoint. You can see the shadow first as it comes across the land and heads towards you. We were in a valley, and so there were mountains on either side, and so we watched the shadow hit the peak of the mountain in front of us, and then sort of land in the area that we were in as the sun lined up overhead. And we were in totality for about 3 minutes. It
Wow.
goes dark during the day. You lose about 5 to 10 degrees of temperature, so it feels cold all of a sudden.
Mhm.
The quality of light changes. And it's kind of like that weird sensation when it's at dusk or dawn and the light is changing and your eyes adjust differently to the light. The sound changes. All the animals are quiet and all the humans get loud.
I was gonna say, what was it like to experience that with a massive group of people that you didn't know?
It was really quite astounding. I really loved it. My favorite part was that we camped overnight and the camper next to me, it was a family, and the grandmother in the family had seen her first eclipse in the Philippines in the
Wow.
1930s, and they didn't have glasses then, and so how they watched the eclipse is they would put a bucket of water on the ground,
Oh,
or you
neat.
can look at it through the
The
shadows that are
the
created.
dappled trees, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was her first eclipse. And at the other end of her life, in her 90s, her son had arranged to bring her out there with his family and get to see her second eclipse ever.
That's
And
amazing.
it
That's
was really a
amazing.
cool story.
So would you say that bearing witness and being intentionally part of watching a live eclipse happen in a group of a community of other watchers and meeting people like that, having amazing experiences as well. Do you think that that changed your life?
Oh, I know it did. And I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until I went and I saw one.
Mhm.
And when I went, one of the other things I noticed is that everyone had a number. Oh, this is my fifth
Mm.
eclipse. This is my second eclipse.
Oh, wow.
And then I even met a couple, and he was like, "This is my fifth eclipse. We met on my second eclipse. This is her fourth eclipse. We've been together ever since," kind of a thing. So there's
Wow.
eclipse couples and there's eclipse chasers. Everyone has a number, and it's sort of this really interesting community. But one of the other things that's super astounding to me is that when the eclipse is happening, everyone looks at the sky and they go, and it's so interesting. Everyone changes their state.
Respect. Right. Their cervical spine is in a new position, right? So
It's
looking.
that, and it's also the witnessing of creation.
Mm.
So they go into this mode of awe and wonder. And when
Mm.
they're
How
in the mode of awe and wonder, all of the armor drops away
Oh, wow. And
because
it's
your heart,
happening together at the same time, the same place. Everybody's having the same experience almost.
and it's heart open. So the armor
Mm.
drops, the heart goes wide open, the eyes get wide, the jaw goes slack,
Right.
the head tilts back, and that's everybody.
Right. And that's kind of like opening up to God or something, or, unconditional love.
And I had never seen so many people in that state together at the same time. And
Wow.
after the eclipse, they estimated how many people had gone to see it. The path of totality is about 100 miles wide. And if you're in the path of totality, you'll see the total solar eclipse. And they estimated that about 100 million people had made the effort to go see the eclipse.
Whoa.
If you do the math, that's about 1% of all humanity.
Wow. So you experienced something uh so empowering that 1% of the human population also experienced at the same time, that you kind of, would you say that that united them at some level?
I think it has to. And I don't
Right.
know where else on the planet you could achieve that kind of geometry where that many humans are connected in a line, heart open, witnessing
Right.
the same event together in this way. And so it's really magical when you think about it, because then they go back to their parts of the world and it's like those seeds get scattered everywhere.
That's such a beautiful image. Janice is watching with us, and she said she saw the eclipse too in 2017 with her sons in Portland, Oregon. She said it was phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal. And something that I just learned recently is that that was at the minimum of the solar cycle.
Wow.
So the minimum of the solar cycle means that there was the minimum of solar activity, minimum of sunspots,
Yes.
minimum of coronal mass ejections, that kind of thing. So
Now,
now, when we
yeah.
get to April of this year, we'll actually be at the solar maximum.
Oh my God. So you're going to go from the minimum to the maximum, and as
And
well as the rest of us in
that's right.
humanity.
And so when you're seeing the totality this time, the corona is likely to be even more spectacular because we're at the maximum of solar activity.
Oh. Wow. Wow. I just want to also share with you that Cheryl's also watching, as well as Bianca and Brooke. Thanks. Hi, ladies. She said she watched the last eclipse on the dock with her sister, and it was magical.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just so cool that something like this, the sun unites us. And astrologically, the sun is the energy of all of our good, I was going to say good behavior, but in Druid astrology, it's all your blessings kind of get wrapped up in your sun sign. So when you look at your chart, or when you as a soul were born and you have your sun sign, it tells a story about the accumulations of your blessings and what you're bringing to the planet as a source of light, you know.
mhm.
So I just think it's really interesting watching a solar eclipse has such a big and powerful effect when you think of the sun itself as it relates to individuals, each of us, and then also as a whole of humanity and all living life on the planet.
I I want to take that one step further.
Please.
So you're speaking about the relationship with the sun, and when you look at if you step one little degree farther out, what we're also looking at is the relationship between the sun, the earth, and the moon.
Yes.
And this cycle affects us so deeply. And this is why it's so good to pay attention to the cycles of the moon. Because if you're in a full moon, that means that the sun, the earth, and the moon are all in a line, and the moon is on the opposite side of the earth from the sun.
Yes.
If the alignment is very close and the earth is just right in the way, then you get a lunar eclipse.
Yes.
And on a new moon, it's the same thing, but the sun, the earth, and the moon are lined up where the moon is between the earth and the sun. And if we're lined up just right, then that's when you get a total solar eclipse.
Yes. So let's fast forward to 2024.
Dun 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 dun.
Can you share with us uh what what you're feeling about this particular uh solar eclipse that's happening across North America?
So, first thing I'll share is that I got a download, and
Ooh,
the
we like
download was, yeah, we love downloads.
downloads.
Uh, the download was that I had gone into the eclipse experience in 2017 as a curiosity in a way. And the download was that you can make even more of the experience by being intentional, by going in ceremony instead of just as a
Mm,
curiosity, and also by working in community. And so
wow.
the way I interpreted that download was that we needed to have a retreat during the eclipse experience
Right,
as
that
a
has
way.
intention, community, sacred space and ceremony. Okay, sorry, go on.
Yep. And so what I did, where I started from, was looking along the path of totality. Where was the best location that I could find that would support that kind of work? And I picked Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Oh, so
And
I.
there's a couple of things that went into that. The first thing that people will look for when they're trying to figure out where to go see an eclipse is they'll look at the weather. You want clear viewing. As I look at that path for April 8th, there are fairly even weather odds all along the path of the eclipse. So any place is generally as good as any other place. If you look at the meteorological data, the northeastern states tend to have more weather at that time of year, but
Right, because it's still spring.
there's a chance for anywhere to have weather along that path. And so I said, well, if I set weather aside, where would be the most powerful place I could find? And so I
Mm.
started looking for ancient sites, sacred sites, and I started looking for um, geological features. And Hot Springs, Arkansas jumped out to me because it is one of the most, it's probably, to my understanding, the most powerful quartz crystal deposit in the whole country.
Wow.
It's a
Not to
massive
mention hot
deposit.
springs.
Yeah. So, and you get hot springs, but that,
Right. I mean, what more could you want?
right? That quartz crystal is super clear, super powerful. There's a lot of it. It's so powerful that the government owns most of it.
Okay, that for all of us watching, and look to any area where the government owns most of the property and ask why. And it's
Uh,
usually because it's an energy hotspot that they need to keep the public out of because we'll get too healed and enlightened.
Sedona, Arizona is a good example of this.
There you go. The vortexes, the gateways,
That's right.
portals.
So
Interesting.
hot springs really jumped out at me. And so that's why I started working on putting an event together there.
Wow. Okay, so before we're going to learn more about this beautiful event that you have brought from the ethers into 3D reality. Can you tell the lunar ladies what your north node sign is?
Aquarius.
Ah, it's just so cool. So if you're curious, why am I asking Cedar Green what his north node sign is because his sole purpose revolves around this Aquarius energy. And everything that you've been sharing about your experiences with eclipses really complements, mirrors, and projects Aquarius energy. You have community, you have humanity, you have good hope for the future. You're seeing where is the most sacred way to experience en masse something, and you so beautifully, as you pass through Mount Shasta for the first time, why were you driving there? Because you're headed towards an eclipse out of curiosity, which is also another aspect of Aquarius because it's an air sign that says, stay curious and you'll blow your mind. So I just wanted to say how amazing and great you are implementing and embodying your soul's calling.
I love it. Thank you for pointing that out. I it has taken some, it was once I landed in Mount Shasta in my house, that's when I started Crystal Focus Alchemy. It wasn't until I landed here that I did that. And now I'm stepping into creating the sacred space and container for people to step into that next level in their own retreat experience. And I think there's a nice segue here too, because the time from the eclipse to landing in my house was 4 years. And so it's a good
Mm.
example of, in astrological time, what the general wisdom is that for every minute of totality, it's 1 year of experiencing the change. So 3 minutes of totality equals 3 or more years of change.
Oh,
And it took me 4 to actually see through that whole cycle. And so,
wow,
right? So
interesting.
So we go into April, we've got
Yep.
4 to 4.5 minutes of totality. These changes are going to play out over the next 4 to 5 years.
Wow, that is so cool. I didn't know the parallel between the minutes of totality as it relates to our personal unfoldings and things that can happen.
Yep.
That's so when you go to this retreat or participate with the eclipse in any way, if you set an intention with that in mind, like when they ask you when you apply for a new job, well, what's your 5-year plan?
Change the world.
Exactly. Everybody, let's start thinking, what's our 5-year plan or maybe a 4-year plan? What do you want to change in
And if you
yourself and in your
and
life?
if you knew that you could plant a seed in 100 million people because their heart was open that day, what seed would you plant?
Yes, let's begin imagining, envisioning, and seeing that as part of our daily reality because we're being given a celestial like activation that what is that happens when a seed is planted in the earth? It is activated by Mother Earth to say grow and become what you are. So is the eclipse coming to say grow and become what you are, which is your totality? Okay, so this is so exciting. Alrighty.
Oh, good. I love it. We're right in the juicy bits now.
Yeah, exactly. So we have events leading up to April 8th. So if you don't know, April 8th is the day of the total solar eclipse moving from Mexico across to to northeastern California or northeastern United States. Is that right?
And a little bit of Canada, right as it goes out into the Atlantic Ocean. So it's going to hit
Yay for all our Canadian
Mexico.
friends.
Yeah. Team North America is all going to get touched.
Ooh, yay. I love that it's the we can formulate new agreements or friendships from Mexico, United States of America, and Canada, because we're all part of the same continent. I think that's kind of interesting of like when we start to look at those relationships and I know that you are already seeing something really powerful in the news and how it's beginning to relate to what's coming. So can you share about that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I kind of want to step slightly back
Okay. Yes.
and say that we just had Pluto move into Aquarius.
Oh yeah, let's talk about
So I want to bring these two together, and so
yeah.
allow me to take a little more time to get there where you're going. But Pluto has just moved into Aquarius. The last time that happened was 1777.
Hello, 1777. Okay,
Let's
tell
talk
us
about
more.
1777 energy was American Revolutionary War and the French Revolutionary War. It changed
Yes.
everything. It's the birth of the nation in many ways. And the energy of that year was this rising up against the powers that be in order to create something new.
Right,
That's
the
the
people.
energy of Pluto moving into Aquarius. That's how it went down last time, 250 years ago. So here comes Pluto moving into Aquarius today. And it's fascinating because Pluto's going to retrograde into Capricorn one more time, and it's going to happen exactly aligned with our election cycle.
Oh, I mean, who's the great architect in the sky that designed that one?
Right? We're going to have an election while Pluto is back in Capricorn,
Yeah,
and the cycle
that's
of a
interesting.
presidency is 4 years. And we just learned that the eclipse
Um,
is going to play out for 4 to 5 years. So it
wow. So this election is
perfectly
pivotal.
lines up together. Pluto and Aquarius, the election with Pluto and Capricorn, and the eclipse on April 8th, which is going to play out for that whole cycle of the presidency.
Of the 2024 presidency, which lasts 4 years.
Correct. So this is what we're heading into. And so part of my astrological curiosity is looking at current events.
Yes.
And the stuff that immediately jumps out to me is if you look at the path of the eclipse, it comes in from Mexico first and then right into Texas. And right now in the news cycle, there's a lot about the relationship between Texas and Mexico. A lot of focus on the border wall, installing razor wire, this standoff with the federal government over removing the razor wire. And it's all about that relationship with people wanting to come in from Mexico into the United States. And so that to me suggests there's going to be a big change there that's going to take place over this next 4 years.
Right. And if you think about what created, or what we think of as the United States of America, is this, give me, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, like refugees and immigrants. It was all, as far as this current government of this country, because we know that this country is relatively new to this continent, because there were a thriving communities of first indigenous people here for thousands, if not more, years when people arrived on the shores of the East Coast.
That's right. And, if you go back not that far, you'll see that Texas was Mexico.
Right, right. Tejas is, and maybe according to Mexican citizens, they still see Texas as Mexico. It just
Correct.
depends who
So,
you talk to.
and so this was all the end of a previous conflict with Mexico. So it's also that relationship where the people coming across the border
Mhm.
have largely run certain industries for us. And they've done so quietly, paid under the table. And this is how our country runs. And they're things like food production. Like,
Mhm.
look at any field, who's picking strawberries,
Right.
right? How does the fruit get to the supermarket? It has all been on the backs of immigrants.
Yes. And
How
seasonal
do the,
workers. Yeah.
yep, how do the slaughterhouses run? How do those burgers get to McDonald's? That's all immigrants for the most part.
Right.
And so we want to control the border, but we also want to exploit the people who are desperate for those jobs. And so that relationship, I think, is shifting because you
Mhm.
also see the thread in this country of people being fed up with being exploited for their work. Last year, we saw more rise in union activity than we had seen in a long time. There was a clear spike of people, right? We had the whole like the many strikes of last year.
Right. And that's kind of a theme song of Pluto and Aquarius, is power to the people, striking, protesting. Why? To get, to make some noise for change and transformation. And Bianca just added that with Texas being originally part of Mexico, so was California, New Mexico, and Nevada. And so it's just, yes. So we're talking about a really big
That's
issue.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. And it also brought to light another piece, which is that the conservative government in Texas wants to fight with the federal government over installing razor wire all along the border.
Mhm.
And the government won a court judgment that said that they could remove it. And Texas doubled down and started installing more and said, come and get it if you want it. And then 15 other states that also have conservative leadership said, we'll also send our National Guard to Texas to fight with the federal government. So they're basically like posturing. I think it is mostly posturing at this point, but it is Civil War type posturing,
Yes. And so when,
fighting with the government. And
right,
that is the other energy that's so prevalent. And that's what we saw in 1777.
right, states' rights, as compared to an over, because they were getting rid of the monarchy, England. And so they didn't want a president because that was too close to the king. And so it was more about states. And then it became the Federation of States. But, and then of course, over time, the country has grown, but it originally 13 states. And they all, what was it? The convention, I think, was a little bit later, but we don't need to go into civics class, but but what did we notice when we started talking about Civil War? What was it that we really stood out to us? As far as when we look at the our solar system, we've been focusing on Pluto. Well, let's go a little closer in. What's the next planet from Pluto?
Neptune, I think, is where you're going.
Ding, 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 ding.
And the
Alex, I will take what is Neptune for 1,000.
I love this game. This game is great. Um, and it's funny because I was angling for like, let's go to Mars next, but let's go to Neptune.
Oh,
What we saw, because when we talk about war, we got to talk about Mars. But
yes,
what we saw
yes.
in the charts was that May 21st of this year, Neptune will be exactly conjunct the same degree, 29 Pisces. And that's where Neptune was when we started the first civil war in this country.
Yes, yes.
We're
So,
coming back around to that exact, it's like a Neptune return.
yes, exactly. So I find that really interesting that not only have since 2020, we've been experiencing the return of um, Pluto's return to the United States government's chart. But now, because Neptune's closer to the sun, its cycle is shorter, but we're getting an overlap of the nation's Neptune return, which happens like every 184 years or something like that. I have to double check, but
That's approximately one civil war rotation.
exactly. So now we're gonna so what comes up for us, not only energy wise within the because remember Neptune is governs our the illusions, the Maya, right? And it's our third eye and it's our dream state. So it's interesting because we're talking about collective with Pluto and Aquarius, and then here comes the dreamy, nebulous, foggy, weird kind of like, I'm gonna say yes, but I really mean no, you know. um, that's come back at a time where it was when there was complete chaos and strife in where brother fought against brother, you know,
Yeah.
as far as in taking sides, north
Well,
or south.
isn't it interesting that in recent times we've just now, at a whole Neptune cycle later, just now have we started to take down Civil War monuments.
Interesting. Brooke, that was 29 degrees Pisces going into 0 degrees Aries is a Neptune cycle. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, we've been taking since 2020, we've been taking down Civil War monuments because they're bastions to slavery and horrible things that we don't want to celebrate. Although I think that it's important to know our history so we don't repeat our history.
Yeah.
But we also can celebrate in other or new ways that are honoring everyone who has, you know, everyone has value. That's very interesting.
So we come
And
around this Neptune cycle. We finally, as we get that many years later, 160 years later, we're finally ready to start taking down those monuments.
right, just when things come back again and Neptune comes knocking on the door to say, hey, how'd it go? Did you learn anything since the Civil War? Huh?
Yeah, we
Anything else
thought
I
we'd
got to
fight
show
some
you?
more, right?
Right. And if we think, you know, the Civil War was about a lot of things, but one of the main things that we're taught is about, you know, the question of slavery and counting people and, you know, all of that. And then here you just brought up the mention, like who are the people who are doing, you know, slave kind of labor in some ways where, you know, they're out in the fields and they're picking and they're, you know, doing jobs that maybe other people don't really want to do. And they're coming in as immigrants to participate in any way that they can to raise money for themselves and their family and to have a better life. That's a synonymous question or experience of maybe the people from, you know, the immigrants from Mexico who are in the fields is a really similar to what we were experiencing at the time of the Civil War. Not saying that anybody are slaves or anything like that, but it's similar.
Well, I will say that the rate of human slavery today is effectively the same as it was during the Civil War. On a global scale,
Worldwide, on a global scale, yes.
there's the same percentage of slaves today as there has been for the last 160 years.
Right. So nothing really has changed,
In
only
that
like in
in that
certain
sense.
areas,
Yeah,
laws have changed. And
that's
it's
right.
interesting too, like the big talk about even minimum wage for those of us in California. There have been a lot of lobbying and legislation changes to want to help improve benefits, payments, so that people are paid a livable wage and not like, living in poverty and working 60 hours a week. So I think that that's interesting as far as the Pluto and Aquarius, like what needs to change for the good of humanity. And we do see it's not all doom and gloom. We
Yeah,
are
yeah.
seeing, but look at the amount of effort it takes to make a change. And you're saying, Cedar, well, let's take a powerful moment that unites us for 4 to 5 minutes, and maybe we can plant a seed of change where it's not going to require, so much efforting because people wake up and join forces.
Well, I like that storyline, and I like the idea of coming into the experience as present as possible. I also like the idea of taking the moment of preparing for the eclipse in order to bring ourselves into the highest vibration we can, the highest energy state that we can be in, and then using that moment of the day of the eclipse to have ceremony together and send that energy out, because it will ripple, it will absolutely ripple all the way up and down that line. the
Yes.
the path of the eclipse, it moves at about 1600 miles an hour.
Wow.
So we're all gonna be there and connected, and those moments are really quite powerful moments. And you know, looking at the way the astrology is going this year, I think we're in for some really big changes.
Yeah, I wanted
The
to. Oh, go
thing we
ahead.
were going to say about Mars is that Mars has every couple of years a heliacal rising where Mars is now above the horizon as it's visible in the sky. And the last time that happened in Capricorn was 1977. But what was
Mm.
interesting this year, it happened at 17 degrees of Capricorn. And the Sabian symbol for that is the Union Jack flies from a new British warship. And it's like,
Okay, so wait. Time out for 1 second. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the power and significance. Like, this is not random. Like, this is all lining up as a blueprint. Because if we're talking, the Pluto's return, what was that? It was the Union Jack was taken down, and the other flag was hoisted up.
yes, that's right. And so here's Mars coming in saying, I want to talk
Hold
to
my
you
beer.
about something.
You want to see something? You were talking Pluto, Neptune. Hold my beer. Here comes Mars.
Hold my beer. And so February in particular is a spicy month for the astrology, because we were just looking before the live, and we've had the sun and Pluto move together into Aquarius. The last time that
Yes.
happened was 551 AD.
Oh, woo, now we're going back in time.
That goes way
Buckle
back.
up,
And
everybody.
I won't take you on a tour of 551 right now,
It is kind of fun, by the way, if you want to time travel with Cedar Green. It's actually really
but
fun.
it doesn't happen very often. That's the point.
Yes.
And now that we've moved into Aquarius, we've got multiple planets are coming in, and it'll be the first time we've had those Pluto conjunctions in Aquarius in 250 years. and they're all going to happen one after the other in February. So we're going to get this drum beat of Pluto conjunctions.
Oh,
And so this
wow.
week we get Mercury conjunct on the 4th, and then we go right into a new moon on the 9th, and
Can
then
I
we
just
get
say one?
Mars. Huh?
Can I just say one quick thing before we go there? Because this is
Yeah.
so good. And I love the analogy of understanding like when inner planets, Mercury, Mars, Venus, the moon, and the sun hit an outer planet, Pluto, which is about our whole soul's energy, that it's like a drum. So
Hmm.
I just wanted, before we, just to kind of let everyone watching is that, we've been in the outer planets and we've been talking about the collective and how we move as a group, but now, and what it means in that big picture. But now what Cedar is going to do is help you take that big energy and put it into your own personal life, as far as what to look for, what to become aware of, because the inner planets are the places where we can make personal change very fast. So it is February 1st, and
It's
now
February
things are
1st.
heating up.
Things are heating up. February is going to be a spicy month. You heard it here first. Spoiler alert. Um, I would start with the 4th. That's when Mercury hits Pluto conjunction at 0 degrees. So this is
And
the
what were
first.
we talking about? Four is significant, right? Because 4 minutes, 4 years of the fourth, things are starting. Okay, so Mercury is like some cayenne pepper.
And I'd be willing to say that news is going to come to light. Things that have been suppressed are going to come to the surface as Mercury comes in contact with Pluto. That'd be what I would think of.
Your
We're
prediction.
going to
So,
see. And I would think you would see it on an individual level. So pay
right,
attention to the news in your own life, but I
right.
think we'll also see it on the collective level.
So would you say that Mercury will get people talking?
I would think so. I think that's going to be a spicy news day.
Yes, yes. So mark your calendars, February 4th, and just go,
Sunday.
Sunday, right? This Sunday. Oh my God.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and go, what Mercury wants you just to be curious and listen,
Hmm.
as well as talk about something that has meaning for you, right? Because or be aware of the words that you're speaking, because Mercury is aligned with a big kapow that day. And if you could speak words of affirmation for your 4 to 5 year plan, you could call a friend and have a really cool conversation.
Yeah.
These are ways that you can align with this energy and bring it into your body by doing something or being something. Okay, go on.
Well, because right, we go from there into the new moon. And new moons
Right.
are new beginnings. These are the places to plant those seeds. Is that new moon energy?
Yes. And what happens on the new moon in Aquarius that really changes things for the year?
Well, I think this new moon in Aquarius, it feels linked to the eclipse in Aries that's coming later in April.
Yes, yes, Alex, can I say the new moon in Aquarius is when the year of the zodiac,
Oh,
Chinese zodiac
that's
sign
right.
changes. So, right, so we have the eclipses in Aries because the North Node's in Aries. Mars rules the North Node in Aries and the eclipse in Aries. And it's a fire sign. And what animal in the Chinese zodiac do we have coming to rule over 2024 that has a relationship with fire?
I think you're speaking of the dragon.
Yes. Bing, 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 bing. Yes. So the dragon. So I love that you say, I think this new moon in Aquarius has something to do with this eclipse. And I would say that you are correct because the dragon is the most powerful animal in the Chinese zodiac. And so we welcome dragon. And
Well,
Aries is fire.
and I can't help but notice that Chiron is conjunct the North Node as this is happening.
So Chiron, the wounded healer, is conjunct the North Node, which is where we're going as a group. But Aries says, I know you're all traveling as a group, and that's great. But what about me? What about you, the individual, the I am? I want to know what's going on for you as the I am presence.
That's right. And that's going to play out over the whole month of February because Chiron moves really slow, right? The nodes are moving
Yes,
fairly slow
especially
too.
in Aries, he moves exceptionally slow in Aries.
That's right. So that's going to also be flavoring these experiences.
Yes, because don't we have the Chiron, the moon, the North Node as Pluto conjuncts Mars. Is this correct?
So that's fast forwarding.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. Let's
Nope,
go back.
that's okay.
New
And
moon.
it's just taking us to Valentine's Day.
Oh,
February
yes.
is when
February 14th.
the Mars will conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees.
Okay, so this is a big deal because the sun was first to conjunct Pluto as it changed signs. They changed signs together, 0 degrees Aquarius. Then Mercury said, no, I'm next. I'm faster than the rest of you. I'm next. So then he did his dance, right? We started talking and watching the news. And then the new moon happens. Here are the dragons now sitting on the throne going, what's going on, humanity? What the Lord and Master has appeared, right? And then he goes, okay, Mars, you're next. And then so Mars says, I conjunct Pluto now on Valentine's Day. What do you see for that time?
Well, that's the Mars conjunct, and we've still got Chiron and the North Node hanging out together, and we also have a sextile between Venus and Neptune that day.
Okay, so let's break that down because you know how we love to talk astrological lingo, but sometimes a lot of us are going, what the heck does that mean? I do want to emphasize let's go to the Venus sextile, Pluto. Is that right? No, Neptune, I mean.
Neptune. Yeah.
Right. So we have Venus in Capricorn, sextiling meaning synergy, 60 degrees synergy to Neptune in Pisces. And there's teachings that say that Neptune is the higher vibration of Venus. So they are actually one and the same at different octaves.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have Venus in Capricorn, Earth sign, synergizing, harmonizing with her higher self as Neptune in Pisces. That's a good thing because Venus actually gets exalted when she merges with the sign of Pisces. So this is energy that I would say is a sweet spot that you want to make sure that you are connected to.
Especially because I think this is going to bring some friction to the surface.
Yes, because we're going to go back to the other side of this beautiful alchemical equation and take a look at the moon. Your core self is now merging with Chiron, healing something with the North Node that says, I haven't been in this energy before. What's going on? What's going on? And so, can you tell us what is the Sabian symbol for this 16 degrees of Aries where Chiron, the moon, the North Node have all merged?
16 Aries. Going back there now, that is the two prim spinsters sitting together in silence. This is the energy of watch, but don't take sides. And to me, this also says if you were, it's kind of like the energy of if God gave you a magic wand and said, here's this big mess, what do you want to do about it? And you could wave your wand, how would you influence it? How would you help resolve this conflict? I think we're going to see conflict, and I
Yes.
think it's important to look at it not from the angle of how bad it is, but from the angle of how do we wish it would go? Which way would we invest in helping that energy to move forward if we could?
Yes. And that, my friend, takes a moment in time to pause and reflect. You can't come to the highest conclusion or maybe find your answer if you're immersed in taking sides, because now you've separated the issue into maybe black and white, good or bad, this or that. And Mercury does not participate well when it's a split decision. Mercury needs to see both sides. The moon needs to feel. Chiron wants to heal it all. The North Node wants to bring it into a higher vibration. And I was just reflecting on this past full moon in Leo. The Sabian symbol for the full moon in Leo was 26 degrees Leo, which was an old fashioned woman and a modern girl, right? And the wisdom of that symbol was saying, here are two differences: old fashioned woman, modern hip hop girl. And it was guiding us and advising us to see the differences, acknowledge the differences, and see what is interesting about the differences rather than making differences bad or negative, but looking at differences and going, look at this vintage lady, look at this modern lady. What they're different, but maybe they're doing the same thing, you know? So I think with the two Prim sisters, they should be sitting quietly, observing, being neutral, looking at the whole thing. Maybe then they'll start talking about what they're seeing or perceiving or experiencing, and they share. So what Cedar Green and I are getting at is, don't jump to conclusions, don't jump in the fire. This is not a time to act quickly. It's a time to sit back and not engage until you get more information and you connect to all your bodies.
Well, it it February is fascinating to me because right on the heels of this, now
Yes.
Venus walks into the door. Venus walks
Um,
right into this conjunction with Pluto and Mars. Mars is moving slower than Venus, so Venus is catching
right.
up right now.
Yes.
And so Venus enters the scene.
And she says, Mars, you thought you had something. Now watch me work.
Yeah, can we tone this down a little bit? You're a little
Right,
feisty over there, Mars.
right. I'm like overlooking the South Node here, which has to like start unraveling before you can do anything. So obviously it's my turn.
And what's also that happens on the 16th. So
Ooh,
we all come together.
so we have the 4th, the 13th, and the 16th. Okay, bring it home, time daddy. The 16th.
So that's when Venus enters the chat with Mars and Pluto.
I love that analogy. She enters the chat. Okay, go on. This is great.
So I think Venus is going to bring some connective tissue to whatever the conflict is and
Right.
start bringing it back together. And what's wild to me is they're going to travel together. They're going to continue going along together, and they will perfect their connection on
Venus and Mars.
222.
That
Right?
is really important.
So that's going to land right on the 222 portal. That's when Venus and Mars are finally like, okay, now we're
Okay.
holding hands.
Wow, on 222.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then that brings us right in home for the home stretch of February, where we get a Mercury Cazimi on the 27th.
Oh my God.
Mercury
Right,
finally
PK?
catches up to the sun.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I mean, really, it's like cancel all your plans. We've got to like, this is like batten down the hatches. Let's get like our astrological hats on and never leave the ephemeris and really go, what the? Okay, so Cedar Green, do you know the degree on the 22nd when Mars and Venus finally hold hands?
6 Aquarius.
Oh, 6 Aquarius?
Yep, they will perfect at 6.
Which is the Lover's card, by the way, in the tarot.
And that Sabian symbol is a child born out of an eggshell.
Okay, wait a second. I think I just have to like. Okay, wait. So wait, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
You want me to do this one for you, Shannon?
Yes, yes. um, what is Pluto in Aquarius all about? You know, it's really like Pluto's soul being born again, transformed out of an eggshell. This is like human, what? Now are we up to human like 4.0? You know? Okay, so I just want to like align this with the recent news of Elon Musk and the chip, the Neuralink chip.
Brain implant.
Okay, right? So we're gonna have choices here, and it's gonna, and the cosmos is just so kind to us to make it so darn obvious. Do you want a chip in your head, or do you want your chakras opened and aligned? I'll take chakras for 1,000, please. I want my crown chakra open. I don't want a chip in my head.
I love it. I love this too. I love this particular example that you're bringing because I want to tie it back to something we said earlier.
Yes.
And that was this relationship between around exploitation.
Oh,
and the only way we got to the place where a human could have a chip in their head was because our animal relatives were exploited, and they didn't.
Yes, and how wrong that was.
They did not get a choice about whether or not they got a chip in their head, and most of them died in the process.
Right.
So they all sacrificed their lives for us to get to this place where now Elon Musk can put a chip in your brain.
Right. And you can control your computer. Like, okay, if it's called a hand on a mouse, you don't need like, you know, anyway, but I think this is also very interesting. And Bianca was so great. She found Aquarius 6 right away in her Sabian symbols. Good job. And she said, I had that symbol in one of my readings. Yes, you did. I remember that. That's awesome. Shaman KK reminds us, remember Year of the Dragon?
Yeah.
And then we have the child born out of an eggshell. Shaman KK went zoom, baby dragon.
Baby dragons. I'll take them.
I'll take baby
dragon. I love them. As many dragons as you want. Born out of Mount Shasta, we're good.
Exactly. So are Mars and Venus birthing a baby dragon?
Well, and I just looked ahead a little bit. The Mercury Cazimi lands on 9 degrees of Pisces, and that Sabian symbol is an aviator in the clouds.
Ooh.
And this is about staying on course even when there's weather and other distractions that might deter you. Like, take the higher perspective and keep moving forward towards your destination.
Exactly. And also, dragons tend to fly, just saying. And when it gets too crazy on ground level, then, like Cedar said, get up higher, find your path again, right? Stay on your flight path. Where are you migrating to? Because let's even go back to or forward to it. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Let me know. But what's the Sabian symbol for the eclipse?
Oh, that was, what did we say? 19 of Aries?
Yes.
Where we're going to land there. I just pulled that up. Give me a sec. I'm going to pull that back up.
It's one of my favorites.
That's a young person feeding birds in the winter.
Right? So We have an aviator in the clouds, right? So we're beckoning us to go fly, stay your path. And I always think of like flight paths as migration routes for
Mhm.
birds. But we're taking care of those birds in the winter by feeding them because food's hard to find. And we're doing that as an act of love and kindness because we are aware that we can help others when they need, may need some assistance. And what will they do? They'll fly the path and show us right where we need to go by
Mhm.
staying above the fray, right? Because the prim sisters are with their popcorn, watching what's going on, not engaging, right? So because Mars and Venus have to get together and have the baby dragon, so that we can rebirth ourselves this year as an enlightened humanity instead of a mass controlled AI robot anomaly, strange non-human form. I like your version of an enlightened society, Cedar Green.
Well, I think a lot of this is going to come down to how you choose to focus yourself. And
And and
that's
I
really
think that
what
I'm sorry.
that's really what the go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to remind everyone listening that when you say that, you're saying that as the leader of Crystal Focus Alchemy. So I just want to bring that home that you know what you're talking about. So go on. Sorry. I just had to like remind everyone.
If you the look at many of the messages that come through the various channels, like Bashar, for example, or
Our good friend.
Cryon, or there's all these different channels out. Even Lee Harris, there's information, and basically
All these
a lot
sweet
of
people.
the a lot of the information suggests that multiple realities are happening at the same time. And so the relationship between those realities is this like thin veil. And you can shift realities in ways that, in the shamanic tradition, we would journey. And in the journeying, sometimes I would wonder, are we just looking into a different version of the reality at the same time? Does this all exist in the same time as the other stuff that I know of as like my life, where I live
Yeah.
here on Earth, right? And so when you look at a moment like this, where the whole world is changing, especially the United States, it suggests to me that you can be in the version of reality where things are falling apart, or you can be in the version of reality where things are coming together. And it has
Yeah.
to do with your choice and where you want to put your energy. And so, a good example of this, I think, is looking back at the Great Depression. Many
Mhm.
people were firmly focused on how things were falling apart, and there was a lot to look at there. But then there were people that were working together to move forward. And that was where the magic was in those moments, in those hard years. It was all about community and how we came together and helped each other in order to move forward together. And I think that's what this year is going to turn out to be about.
Brilliantly and so wonderfully said and shared, Cedar Green. I just want to add that I love that you brought the Great Depression up because when the Great Depression was happening, we had Uranus and Taurus.
Mm.
Where is Uranus today?
Right there in Taurus. And we're headed for another rare event, which is Jupiter conjunct Uranus in
Yeah,
Taurus, 21 degrees.
right. And I wonder, I don't know if you've had a chance to see, but when was Jupiter and Uranus? That must have been in the 1930s because he
I
would
don't,
have I wonder when I'll look in my ephemeris.
we'll
I
have
bet
to go
you.
back in the ephemeris to find out. But
Yes.
what's the Sabian symbol for 21 Taurus?
Ooh, everybody, let's go look.
I already went.
Okay,
It's
what is it?
A white dove flying straight and fearlessly over troubled waters.
Does anybody have a microphone to drop? I mean, my God, right? A white dove, right? We have aviator in the clouds, we have flight, like rise above, get above the troubled waters.
Yeah.
A white dove,
This
peace.
happens right on the other side of the eclipse. This happens April 20th this year. So, what I think
Wow.
if we bring it all together, we're in for some spicy astrology. We're in for a lot of change.
Yes.
We're going to be tested, I think, in a lot of ways. And our ability to show up for what's present in our lives and what's available for us to show up for is going to be huge. And so I think that no matter what you're doing this year, it's going to be really important to lean into your spiritual practices and lean into your community, because that's how we're going to walk through this is together.
I agree 1000%. 1000%, because you're not, no one is an island, right? We're all getting out together. And maybe it's not we're getting out, maybe we're getting into this beautiful new society, this new earth. What, people have been calling it all kinds of things. Age of Aquarius, golden age, back to the garden, whatever you want. But don't you think, I mean, feel this really deep in your heart. Wouldn't it be more fun if it was all of us happy and celebrating and enjoying life together rather than just a small group of us? I want to live in the world where it's all of us are doing well, all of us are healthy and happy and excited and creative and passionate, and we get to, like, it's like party every day as far as like enjoy being busy and helping and healing, and everybody has their sole purpose. They know what it is, they're doing it, they're actively engaged in their lives and helping themselves and others. Yes, so I love that.
I do too. So I think there's a lot of promise this year for things to get a lot better, but I also think that it's going to look really messy, and that's going to be alarming for a
Yes.
lot of good reasons.
Yes, so if it gets messy, or you're starting to come into this like anxiety or fear or whatever that might come in to knock you off this your center, that's when you reach out to community, your communities. You build a community, you're part of a community, or all the above. You can come to Lunar Ladies, you can go to Crystal Focus Alchemy. There's so many places you can go where you can call home and you can feel better, you can get the wisdom, you can get back on your center so that you can be a bright lighthouse for those people in your family, those people in your neighborhood or your workplace, because you're right, it's not going to look good, but we don't have to be afraid of that. And like Cedar said, we could be looking at like, oh no, everything looks like this, or oh wow, this gives me an opportunity to build this.
Right. And I'll give you a small example. And I know we're kind of getting up there, but small example is that when I look at these energies, one of the places on the earth that I think is going to go through some big changes is this whole situation going on around Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
And if I look at it from a distance, from here, there's a lot to be sad about.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot of things that if I had a if God gave me a magic wand, oh, I'd be busy over there. I'd be all up in there.
All up in that
I'd be
space.
all up in Israel and Palestine. I don't have such a magic wand today. And so I can look at it, I can see what's going on, but I also don't really feel empowered on a personal level to do a lot about it. And yet at the same time, I can say that that's true. I got an email today. I don't know how this person found me.
Ooh, I love these emails.
I got an email from someone in Israel,
What?
and they wanted a simple thing. They wanted to get another crystal skull from me. They
Oh.
wanted me to help them activate the crystal skull that they already have. And I thought, you know what? My contribution to having things improve in Israel and Palestine is to activate crystal skulls that are there and send more crystal skulls into that territory. So I mention this
Yes,
example
please.
because it's if you feel anxious or overwhelmed by what's going on out there, bring your focus back into what's right here for you. I can't go over there and fix it, but God gave me a way to participate.
A really powerful way, because tell people about how what's going to happen as for being able to get activated. Because if people are like, I want that, I want to do that 4 or 5 year plan, I want to use this energy this year to activate something really big in my life, or I want to be activated myself and have a communal experience with humanity 1%, share with us how they can do that
Well, one of the ways
from your place of point of view.
from my perspective, I put together a 5-day retreat for this purpose on the path of the eclipse and on the powerful crystal grid in Arkansas. And so we're going to spend 3 days preparing. We're going to spend a day of just on the 4/4 portal. We're going to arrive at the accommodations. We have a villa right on the shores of Lake Hamilton. And then the next day we're going to do a day of focus. And the day of focus is really getting clear on the work that we're doing and clear on our intentions and clear on the things that we have been struggling with. And then the next day, we're going to do a day of coherence. And we're going to start by, as a community, going out to the crystal mine and digging crystals out of the earth with our hands, being on the land.
Wow.
And so we're going to bring the community into coherence together by being out together and then doing some more integrative work when we get back. And then the next day, we have a day of resonance. And each day, we're building the energy towards the eclipse. And then on the day of the eclipse, it happens in the morning-ish. And on the day of the eclipse, Sherry Whitfield is going to have the ancient crystal skull synergy there with us. We're going to create a grid of all the crystals that we dug and all of our crystal skulls. And Sherry's going to lead us in ceremony with the ancient crystal skull synergy in order to activate all of those energies. And then we'll go into the eclipse together in that state.
So the people who are going to the retreat are going to be activated by synergy, an ancient crystal skull, and that their guardian, and then you're going to go in all together as a group.
We're going to basically go outside, set up this whole grid, have a ceremony, and then here comes the eclipse, and we'll go
Oh
right.
my God. So you get like your own private viewing of the eclipse, because it's going to be at the place where you're going to host the retreat.
Yeah, and it's like right on the shores of the lake, so there may be other people around and stuff,
Beautiful.
but we're gonna get a brilliant view, and everyone that comes to my retreat is going to get their own custom crystal skull that I created for the event.
Oh,
You can bring
wow.
your own crystal skulls or crystals to have in the grid and activate them there. And then we're going to activate some crystals for Bright Star as
Oh,
well.
so we can buy crystals.
There'll be some that are available if you can't come to the event. And Shannon and I are going to make a little one-pager
Yes.
sheet. And we haven't done this yet. And I'm volunteering her right now. So you're watching this in real time.
I'm always happy.
Shannon and I are going to create a little one-pager of how to make the most of your eclipse experience. And we can hand that out for people, even if you're not able to come to the retreat or whatever
I
your
would love that.
situation is, you can still make the most of these energies. And so it'll have some ceremony and a meditation and like these kinds of things in order to help support you in this process.
Yes. And then I get the wonderful opportunity to do mini readings for all the retreat guests on how to maximize their eclipse experience too, right?
That's right. So if you're coming,
I can't wait.
you'll get a mini eclipse reading. You'll also get a one-on-one Gene Keys session as part of your intake to help you get clear on your intentions as you're coming into the retreat. And we'll be doing group work in the retreat itself, but you'll also get one-on-one individual work. Kathy is going to be there doing individual work with crystal skulls with folks. And this is so it's a whole package of experience. We've got a private chef that's going to serve food for us all, so we can just focus on doing our work while we're there.
Best, and it's high vibrational food that you're going to be like so fortified and nurtured, and you're going to leave this retreat like being like super powered.
And on the way out of the retreat, we're going to go over to the hot springs and have a nice soak to integrate.
Oh my God, the best way to integrate. Yes.
We'll
And
be in the
then
healing water.
the lucky retreat people are going to have an activated 4 to 5 year plan of unfolding, most likely.
That's right. So you'll have a good sense of where you're going, and we're going to check in. So 2
Yes.
years along the line, we're going to check back in and see how things are going.
Oh, how nice that you're going to follow up with everyone that comes together to create this beautiful grid of human souls as well as crystal skulls.
And so we'll be able to check back in, see how it's going, and see how this is unfolding for you. And so we'll do a check-in at 2 years and a check-in at 4 years as well to see how this played out for each
Oh,
person.
how nice. I love that. And I heard that if you live in the area, you're offering a day
We
pass
do
as
have
well
a
as a
limited
retreat pass.
we do have a limited number of day passes available for the eclipse day ceremony only,
Oh, okay.
and I've got 6 spots left for the retreat, and
Oh my
the
God, it's limited. There's not many spaces left. Okay.
there's 6
Ooh, better get
spots,
on it, people.
and today is the end of the early bird pricing. So if
Oh,
you
so
pay
if you sign up today and you can sign up with just making a deposit, right?
just make a deposit, you can lock in the early bird pricing if you put in
Ooh.
a deposit today. So today's the end of the
Oh,
early bird.
okay. So today's the end of the early bird pricing, and if there's still any spaces left, then people who want to sign up later can if there's space left.
We're
I
gonna
have a feeling it's
accept
going to sell out.
we're gonna accept registrations all the way up until the sun moves into Aries on March 19th. That's the cutoff.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, yeah, if you are feeling and resonating with this beautiful experience in Hot Springs, Arkansas, I would jump on it now. And I see that the website retreat is behind you, but I'll also put it into the comments as well.
Thank you. And if you have any comment or any questions, feel free to just reach out to me through email, or you can, my phone number's out there. You can text me, and I'm happy to,
Aw.
um,
Okay, I will put your contact info
yeah,
so
please
people can
do.
reach out to you. And Cedar, you mentioned Synergy. Do you have any information you can post in the lifestyle group about who Synergy is so that people will know who they get to meet on the retreat?
It's on the website. There's
Oh, it
information
is. Oh,
about
okay.
Synergy. So Ancient
I'll
Crystal
link
Skull
that.
Synergy is going to be there. Synergy is the oldest one, estimated at about 25,000 years old.
Wow, so people are gonna be able to have counsel with the 25,000-year-old crystal skull being.
And then I'm bringing Star
I like
Sirius
that.
and my council of,
Whoa, Star
and
Sirius is
then
gonna be there.
and then we're also going to have custom activated skulls for each person that attends.
Oh my God! I mean, this is an adventure of a lifetime.
For us in America, this is really for many of us going to turn out to be a once in a lifetime thing. There will be other eclipse events that we'll do after this. But they travel around the world. So 2026 is Iceland, 2027
Ooh, do a retreat in Iceland.
yeah,
Let's do a
and
field
then
trip.
2027 is Luxor, Egypt.
Oh my God, another field trip. And Shaman KK's on her way there.
Awesome. And then 2028 is Australia, and that will be out near Uluru.
Oh my God. So I have a feeling that if you experience an eclipse like this, like Cedar did in 2017, you're going to become you're going to join that elite club of eclipse goers.
You're going to know that you have a number, and you're going to want to make that number go up. That's what
Right. So
I'm
you're going to be like, I was in Arkansas. I was in Iceland. I was in Liuhuru. I was in Luxor.
I met my partner in Luxor,
Right.
right? Like,
I
it's
want to do
fantastic.
that.
Yeah. It's really great.
Yeah, we're gonna get bitten by the eclipse bug.
So I'm happy to support your journey. I'm so excited. I don't ever want to quit doing this work.
No, never, because look at, I mean, this is your first um uh the launching, right, of this major lifelong quest of your North Node, of your soul purpose.
That's right. And when I looked at that Sabian symbol for my North Node,
Yes.
5 Aquarius, and it was a masked figure doing ritualistic acts in a mystery play.
What will you be doing for ceremony? Need a
Ritualistic act.
mask.
I guess
You
I
have an
just
eclipse
my
mask.
mask.
Are you gonna do a mask?
I guess I have to
You
now.
have to. Ooh, you're gonna make a mask and with the drum, boom, boom, boom. And Shaman KK Kelly Kessler just noted the new moon in Luxor is on 222 in Alexandria.
Mm.
Whoa. So that's going to probably be when the North Node's in Aquarius. Somebody will be having a nodal return.
That'll be a good time. Good time to go to Egypt. I've never been. It's been on my list.
Ooh, well, we'll have to have Shaman KK and the Lunar Lady's last out when she comes back from her adventure. Yeah, so let's think about. I want to go on a eclipse field trip to Iceland, and I want to go on an eclipse field trip to Egypt.
Let's do it.
And Uluru. Yes. Okay, so I know where to go now because you're going to be designing retreats.
Yes, that's right. That's the plan. And this one in April, we still got spots. Uh it's interesting that it's right after we enter the retrograde cycle again. We're clear of retrogrades all the way until April 1st, and then Mercury goes retrograde.
Oh, isn't that nice of Mercury to go retrograde during the eclipse? Bringing
It,
something back.
it could make for some interesting travel during that time.
But you're ahead of the game because you're like, okay, just plan early, get, insurance for your flights, keep checking,
Lots of buffer. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you guys will be fine because Mercury is like, oh, just make him a place, rent a room to Mercury, and he's like, I'll take care of business.
So yeah,
Awesome.
so that's the overview. And
Beautiful. And your website has more information and then ways to contact you. But if you are interested, people, I would jump on and get that early bird pricing just by contacting Cedar today. And then we'll have you back into, all everybody who goes to the retreat. I'm like, okay, I have to interview you. How was it? What happened?
I can't wait.
I'll be interviewing all the people of the Lunar Ladies when they go and they come back and be like, okay, we have to do a live and talk about this. Well, Cedar Green, thank you so much for making the time today to come into Lunar Ladies and
Thank
sharing
you
with
for
us
having
your
me.
knowledge and your life's soul purpose, power, passion. Thank
Thank you for
you.
having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I can't wait to share more about the event as we get closer.
Yes, we will definitely have you back on because there'll be more excavation into this area of spicy astrology. And we definitely need to keep talking about February. And I want
I
to thank
want to,
everybody for watching and joining
yeah.
with us too.
Maybe we can get together around the 27th on the Kazemi and see how February went.
Ooh. Ooh, yes, good idea. So we'll be like, okay, here comes February, and then we'll show up at the end of February. How was February?
How'd that go for everybody?
Exactly. That's a plan. I love it. I love
I'm
it.
on
Thank you
board.
so much. I'm on board too. So I'll put it right in the calendar. We'll figure out the time, maybe a 222 again. And everybody, let's meet back here on February 27th with Cedar Green. And we'll share, compare notes like, okay, what happened to you? What happened to you? What happened to you?
Have a
Awesome.
good day,
Thank you so
everybody.
much. Okay, everybody have a good evening. We'll talk soon. I'll be back live soon. Bye.
Bye.